learners, I welcome you again to the lecture series of Database Management System. Already we have started Entity Relationship Model or ER model, and we have seen what are the different types of ingredients of ER model, means entities, attributes, and relationship among the entities. And also we have seen what are the different types of attributes possible. Now, in this lecture, we are going to see a very important thing about ER diagram, which is keys concept. All of us know that whenever we want to identify individual rows, that means to uniquely identify individual rows, we need some mechanism. And keys concept, that's why it's very much important, because keys help us to uniquely identify a row in any database. Because there are lakhs and lakhs of records. How can I uniquely identify a row in the database? For that, we need to understand different types of keys. We will start with super key. Then we will see what are candidate keys. Then we will see primary key. Up to this, we will cover in this lecture. And there are so many other keys possible, like foreign key, then composite key, alternate key, and unique key. Those will be discussed in my next lecture. So these two lectures are devoted only for keys concept. So please stay tuned and enjoy your journey.
So what is keys, right? A key in database management system, it is a single attribute or a set of attributes which helps us to uniquely identify a tuple or row in a relation or table. This is the definition of DBMS keys. Now we will understand this with an example of branch table. This branch table, as you can see, it has got several columns like branch number, branch name, street, area, postcode, and telephone number. This is nothing but it is giving us some information about the branches of a bank. Okay, any single bank has got different branches, right? And these branches will be identified by branch number, and along with branch number there will be branch name, street, area, postcode, and telephone number. Understood? And the values for these columns or attributes, these are also called attributes: branch number, branch name, street, area, postcode, telephone number. These are all attributes, and these attributes will have different values as is shown in the table structure. So a key helps us to uniquely identify a row. Okay, like branch number. Branch number is a single attribute. If I tell you a branch number value like B001, then definitely you will give me one branch name, one street number, one area, one postcode, and one telephone number. That means it helps us to uniquely identify a row in a table structure. Suppose I give you branch number and telephone number both. That means now it is nothing but a set of attributes. That also helps us to uniquely identify any row. So if I tell you B001 and 9077896789, these two attributes indicate which branch. Immediately you will tell me it is indicating sector 5 branch, first row street, area Salt Lake, and postcode 700091. So you have understood what is keys, right? Now, why are the keys required? As you have understood, the main motive of DBMS keys is to give each record a unique identity, isn't it? You can uniquely identify a row. And definitely, keys are also used to establish relationship between different tables and columns of a relational database. I will explain this point in much elaborate way whenever we will be discussing the relationship among different entities. There you will see these keys are the components. Keys are the only tool by which we can establish relationship between table structure, between different tables, between different entities. So keys help us to establish relation. Okay. So with this, you have got the basic idea about keys. Now, what is super key? Super key, it is the set of all attributes which help us to uniquely identify a row in a table. Now consider branch table. I have taken the same example throughout my lecture so that you people can relate different concepts. Branch number can uniquely identify any row in this table. So branch number is a super key. Branch number, street and area taken together, they can also uniquely identify a row in a table structure, isn't it? If I tell you branch number is B002, street name is 2nd Avenue and area is Park Street, then you will give me only the second row. So this branch number, street, area is another super key. Again, if you take branch number, postcode and telephone number, they are also super key because they are also uniquely identifying any row because for the same reason. That's why what we have seen that these three are the super keys of this branch table. But then what is the problem with the super key? The main problem is that it contains redundant attributes sometimes which are not strictly required for unique identification. And as you can understand that in RDBMS, always you will see that we will try to avoid redundancy, isn't it? So we don't want any kind of redundant attributes as my key. So as super key can contain redundant attributes, that creates a problem. Understood? Like in the branch table, if you take this super key, branch number, street and area, actually this street and area column or attribute, they are not required, isn't it? They are redundant. Again, similarly, if you take branch number, postcode and telephone number, then also you will see postcode and telephone number are not required, isn't it? So actually, I can say although there are 3 super keys possible, super key 1, super key 2, super key 3, but actually this super key 2 and 3 contain some redundant attributes, isn't it? So now you can understand this branch number actually alone can identify any row, isn't it? There is no need to include street, area, postcode, telephone number, etc. So what I can say that with super key, I cannot proceed much because super key may contain some redundant attribute. So let's see how we can have another key which will have all the features of super key as well as it will try to remove the redundancy in that. Yes, that there is a solution, and the solution is candidate key. So what is candidate key? Candidate keys are defined as the minimal super key. Note the word minimal means I have already removed the redundant attributes. It should be minimal super key. That means it should identify each record in the table as well as it should not have any redundant attribute. Understood? A super key is minimal if removing any attribute would mean that it no longer provides unique identification. So you have understood that candidate key has 2 properties in it, uniqueness and irreducibility. Irreducibility means that it contains a minimal number of attributes. You cannot reduce it further. So you can see from the same example that branch number since alone is sufficient to uniquely identify a row. So branch number is a candidate key. Similarly, for the same reason, if you look at the telephone number can also uniquely identify a row from this particular table structure, as you can see. Because if I tell you the telephone number, you will give me only one branch number, one branch name, one street, one area. So I can say telephone number for the same reason, it is also a candidate key. That means in the branch table, we will have 2 candidate keys possible, candidate key 1 and candidate key 2. Understood? Now we will study primary key. A relation or table can have several candidate keys possible, but as a programmer, out of several candidate keys those are possible, I may choose one candidate key as the primary key. And that I have to choose very wisely, isn't it? Now, primary key is nothing but actually it's a candidate key only, but it is chosen arbitrarily by a programmer, which becomes the primary key. It should have certain other properties. So based on those properties, I can choose primary key is a candidate key that is most appropriate in my case to become the main key for my table. Like for branch number and telephone number, branch number is a candidate key, telephone number is also a candidate key. Then as a programmer, which attribute I should choose as primary key? Obviously branch number. Why not telephone number? Because if I choose telephone number as the primary key, then maybe telephone number can be shared by two branches, isn't it? Or you can say single number cannot identify a single branch, or there is a high chance that telephone number may change in near future. So I should not choose telephone number to be the primary key. I will choose rather branch number as the primary key. So primary keys, not only it will be unique, not only it will be irreducible like candidate key, but at the same time, primary key contains some other properties. Among those properties, most important, primary key is by default not null. You cannot give any null values to the primary key. Some value must be given to the primary key. Primary key is again by default, it is unique. It is always unique because you have seen, but it should be not null. So unique and not null is the main property of the primary key. Definitely it is irreducible. Another property is primary key is by default indexed. Okay. So, and also another property of primary key is that it can be used as foreign key in the other table. Okay. I will introduce the concept of foreign key in my next lecture. But remember for the time being that primary key only can be used as foreign key in another table. Or in the reverse way, I can say the foreign key of any table must be the primary key of another table. Understood? Now let's understand then what is composite primary key. Sometimes you will need this concept. Sometimes you will need this composite primary key concept very much. In some cases, you will find that one single attribute cannot serve as primary key. In that case, maybe more than one attribute I have to choose as composite primary key. Let's take an example. Suppose I have got student ID, subject ID, marks and exam name. Now in this table, what I am trying to get, it is a score table. I want to get the scores or marks of individual student for individual subjects, for various subjects. Now if I ask you this particular student roll number 100, how much he has got, then immediately will tell me in the end semester examination, in a particular subject, I can tell you the marks of the student, isn't it? That means not only student ID is sufficient, I have to tell you the subject ID. So student ID and subject ID taken together, they will serve as the composite primary key. Okay, so you have understood these important concepts, the basics of keys. In this lecture, I have discussed with you about the first key, which is the super key. Then I have discussed with you what is candidate key. And then I have discussed with you what is primary key. And then I have discussed with you what is composite primary key. In my next lecture, I will discuss with you what is a foreign key, alternate key, and some other keys concept. So that's all for now. Hope you have enjoyed and hope you have learned something about the keys concept. And whenever you will be implementing this in the case studies, then you will be very much confident. So bye for now and definitely stay tuned.